one. All right, what's up, everybody? This is Cody, aka DFS Prodigy, coming to you live with Gordo Gambles. How is it going, my man?
Not going too bad. Thanks for having me on here. We got a great set of fights this weekend, and I'm happy to break it down with you.
Right. So this is UFC Fight Night Game versus Volkov. It's a pretty interesting card. I think it's underrated in a lot of places. I think people are taking this card for granted for what it's worth. There's a lot of knockout fighters on this card. But talk to me about this very first fight with Yancy and Demir. How do you feel about this very first fight? Which typically we're going to break it down fight by fight. But given this is the very first one, I already think there's an edge in this with the underdog. Tell me about this fight, my man.
Yeah, so this fight was originally booked, what was it, 3 weeks ago? And I was on Yancy that fight. Now I only have a plus 105 there. And since then it's opened up at plus 125 for Yancy here. And the main thing I see is we have a durable striker who's coming down in level of competition. And he's facing someone in Hadzovic, who is a good fighter himself, but he isn't the same level of fighters that Yancy's been facing in the past, right? And stylistically, we have a great matchup on us, and I think at plus 125, you give me that all day, and I'm going to take it. I'm loving it. I know you have an edge on it too. How do you see this one going down?
Yeah, man, like I said, Yancy has been actually training with the Diaz brothers, which that gives him an edge in the striking, which we know he's not a heavy striker, but at the same time, he's already working on that with the flip side of the grappling that he brings to the table. Yancy, we all know, is a grappling machine. I think Demir is getting too hyped up. I think that the level of prospects that he's fighting isn't worth the price tag that he's bringing to the table, in my opinion. So that's why I'm kind of looking at Yancy. I think he's just going to overtake this fight from the grappling aspect. I don't think Demir has a potential for the takedown defense. It's where I'm also looking at is if you look at the tape, he just has no defense when it goes for takedowns. So I don't understand why this fight is so variable to where Demir is the favorite. I think it should be close to a pick 'em, but I'm taking underdog money on Yancy. This is basically going to be one of my underdogs I'm locking and loading in tonight.
And another thing is, too, if it does stay on the feet, you have someone in Yancy who does throw more volume, who can take a shot, whereas Hadzovic is more of a power puncher, and I do not see him knocking out Yancy, really. I know Yancy's been in a lot of wars, but he's still got a great chin, and I just think even if he overwhelms him on the feet, he will win a decision, and it's a spot where at plus 125, I'm loving it.
And Demir, in my opinion, is, like I said, is just getting too hyped up for what he's worth. That's where I'm kind of just looking at Yancy to basically put him in a class act with the grappling. He's worked on the striking. I mean, what else can you want out of Yancy at a plus money underdog, in my opinion, here?
Exactly. He's hungry to get back in the win column, and he's definitely facing someone who has a favorable matchup again. I think it's going to be a great fight to start off the night.
Exactly, my man. So then going next to the fight with Charles Rosa versus Justin James. So Justin James, I've interviewed him before, and he's worked on a lot of the mental game, basically to where if we see it today, he put $25K on himself of show money to basically locking and loading himself to pay his coaches, pay his family, basically saying that this is all that he's worth and this is all that he wants to do in his life. And I'm loving it, honestly. Like, this is a fire that I'm bringing to the table that I'm loving. But talk to me about this fight, my man.
So like you said, man, he tweeted out he's putting his whole purse on himself, and that is a ballsy play, and I'm loving it. We love to see confidence out of those guys, and as soon as I heard that, I went in there and I hammered the under 2.5 because Justin James is in the spot right now where he's killed or to be killed, right? We know he's got that power. We know he's a tough dude, but he has been cracked in his last few fights, and it has ended pretty early, right? So as soon as I heard he was going all in, I headed up the under 2.5. I got it at minus 110, which is just insane value. I think that should be way more. So it's a spot where I think James is going to go in there. He's going to be hungry for a win. He's betting on himself. He wants to come out here with the dub, and I think he gets it done. I think he comes out strong early rounds. We know Charles Rosa isn't. I think James got the striking advantage for sure and the power advantage. So it's his fight. If he gets clipped, I cash my under 2.5. I do favor him. I love him in DraftKings, especially the 7.6K price tag. So all around, a great fight to target from the betting perspective and the DraftKings perspective. What about you?
Exactly. And that's what I'm looking at. So when I'm actually scrolling through my messages with him, going from the past, like when we were talking about this fight, he literally said, like, no, like my size and my power in this fight is going to be the advantage, which he's completely right. This dude's a knockout artist. If we see him, he does have a couple losses on his record that look awful, in my opinion. But here's the thing. He was going out balls to the wall in the first round, hoping to get a knockout, which that's what he's known for. I mean, we've seen this before with guys, with Chaos Williams, with other guys that go out there in the first round and knock it out, and it does work for some guys. Which that's what I'm saying with Charles Rosa. he's more of a grappler, and that is his bread and butter.
Mhm.
He's not really a striker, which that's the advantage I'm giving to James is the striking that he brings to the table is there. Plus, he's a brown belt in grappling, so he's not the best in grappling, yes, but he still can grapple. So, in my opinion, I don't see again why this is such heavy favor on Charles Rosa. I'm taking this more as a pick'em, and I want Justin James in this fight. Yes, my bias may be there, but at the same time, you have a guy who's betting on himself literally Friday before Saturday on the fights. He's putting all his money on there. He's going in there wanting to take a toll on this guy. He's wanting to stay in the UFC. He's wanting to fight in the crowd. I'm giving this fight to Justin James. It's too hard not to with the mentality that he's bringing to the table. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and it's one of those fights where it should finish. Both guys have their path to victories. I do see why Rosa is the opening favorite, but you got to give James some credit here. He's hungry. He wants to win. He has that power. Rosa has been knocked out before. Yes, it was a Shane Burgos, but I think James will be hungry. He's going to come out there, and he's definitely going to live up to that price tag. I'm loving him on DraftKings. It'll be really high owned on this fight. And no, it'd be a great one. Second fight of the night. It'd be a banger.
So that's what I'm saying. Like when I pull up the DraftKings like prices, I was incredibly amazed what the price was for James, and I could fit in basically whoever I want in this line now with him
100%.
in there. So again, if you want to take a punt on DraftKings, this is your punt literally of the night, in my opinion. If you want to fit in Yahtzee and Justin James, you're golden in my opinion. Which again, I know that's us trying to convince you all on these two fights, but again, looking at pricing and betting odds, these odds are too good for me. I just love it, honestly.
And that's what you want to see when you're betting on fights. There's two underdogs start off the night. There's nothing better than you can get them plus money on your guys that you think are going to win, and it's going to be a great night. I think both these fights can definitely finish. I got two bets to start my night, which is something that has its ups and downs, but I'm definitely loving my spots here, and I'm hoping to bank on it, man.
Exactly. So then dropping down to the female fight with Julia Avila versus Julia Storlenkio. How do you feel about this fight, my man? I can already see you grinning.
Now,
how do you feel?
This is a fight where you got two very different fighters, okay? And I love Stoliarenko's stat line, man. All of her wins by armbar, is that like that's got to be something impressive, right? So, do I think she gets an armbar here? No. Do I think the line is justified? Yeah, probably. I think Avila's going to mow her down. I think Avila's got that. She's a unique talent in the division. It's not something that usually people in that division do. It's just so much volume, just constant pressure, and I think that she has the advantage everywhere. It's going to be another good fight. I have no action on it personally. I do heavily lean Avila. I'm happy to see Stoliarenko good on the scales today, right? So it wasn't as bad as her past events, right? So no, like I said, I edge Avila here. I don't see a Hail Mary armbar happening here. I think Avila can hold her own on the ground. And the one thing, man, I was going to consider betting the under. I love betting unders in women's fights because usually they're really juiced, right? But I'm not getting enough value in it, in my opinion. So I'm going to stay off it. I'm going to edge Avila. I will play a little bit of her on DraftKings. But no, what do you think?
Yeah, this is the thing for me. I think Avila does mow her down, but I have this gut wrenching feeling that if I put a parlay piece with her at her odds, it's going to go downhill. I just have a gut wrenching feeling about this fight. I think Avila should mow her down. She should. But at the same time, this is female fights. You know how female fights go. It can flip in a switch in one round. So Avila has a strength. She has the grappling aspect. I think this is a great fight for her. I think she should win. Plain and simple. This should be an easy win for her. But at the same time, we've seen easy fights go down this route with female fights, and it's happened before, and we've been burned by it before. So I'm gonna have some money on her. I don't mind her on DraftKings, but with a parlay piece, I'm risky with it. It's too risky.
Hey, just ask Jara Eubanks how we feel about Avila. Obviously, Eubanks is a completely different fighter, but you it's hard to. She didn't look great her last time out. I know it's a completely different stylistic matchup here, where Stoliarenko wants to get it to the ground, needs to get it to the ground.
Yeah.
But I think Avila's just better in all the aspects. I'm not a big fan of her. Stoliarenko's takedowns. She doesn't have the best wrestling, in my opinion. So this is her fight to lose. I think she gets it done. Nice bounce back victory for her. She's a pretty big prospect in the division. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I think we also need to watch the weigh-ins with Stoliarenko because we saw her collapse on her last fight, which that's what I'm watching for. Also, is how she looked on the scales. That's going to be a big thing to me. Also,
she looked okay today.
She looked okay. Yeah.
you hate to see someone collapse, and you know that if they're going to collapse once, that they're going to have some weight cut issues again, which is scary to me. But it's even more reason to favor Avila in the spot.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Then going up to a heavyweight fight with two UFC fighters that I don't see how are still in the UFC, in my opinion. You probably already know Ike Villanueva versus Martin Precision. How do you feel about this fight, man?
So we're going here, and we're seeing a fighter who was knocked out in the first round in 3 consecutive fights to be on the edge of elimination to now being a minus. He opened up, I think, minus 250 betting favorite.
It was like 250, 270. Yeah, opening up.
And the thing is, he's going up against a knockout artist. Ike Villanueva has all of his wins, or sorry, not all of them. He has a big percentage of his wins by knockout. And what I'm seeing is, if Pacquiao has this glass chin, how is he so much of a favorite? Now, okay, he looked decent his last fight out, but he was facing someone in, who was it? It wasn't Townsend. It was Roundtree. He was facing someone in Roundtree who just botched weight cut, didn't look like himself, gassed out, and I'm so confused. Like, you have a power puncher going up against someone with a glass chin, and I got him at plus 180. Yes, there you go. I bet on Ike Villanueva tomorrow, and I got him at plus 180. And here's the thing. If he wins, it could be very likely a first-round knockout because we've seen that happen many times for Marcin Pacquiao. So if I'm getting plus 180, I can get even more money for an inside the distance finish. Why not? Right? Ike Villanueva was hungry his last time out. Notably, he did knock out someone with an even worse chin. But I like him here. What do you think?
That's why I'm pulling up the DraftKings prices right now. If we were looking at pricing, I mean, this is literally incredible to me. With Martin at $9,000 on DraftKings, he's literally one of the highest.
Biggest fade.
Yeah.
Biggest fade.
That's going to be the fade of the night. Again, there's a lot of this card is definitely underrated in my opinion with the underdogs here. That's why I'm loving Ike. I mean, Martin, we've seen him in the fights have his hands literally to his hips. And Ike is a knockout artist, like you said. He's going to literally punch him in the face and literally get this knockout, in my opinion. This is a knockout or bust fight for me. For Ike, I love Ike here. Do I trust him in my parlays and stuff? Again, questionable. But at the same time, he's going for a first-round knockout or bust. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he's a lot more durable than the other guys, right? Like, I know you say first-round or bust. I get that, but like, it's not like he's going to be finished. I don't see Pacquiao finishing him. I have no idea why he's $9,000 price tag. For everyone who... Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Very good.
Okay, so for everyone else who follows me on Twitter, I'm a big UFC guy, right? So I have a bunch of people messaging my plays, and the first thing I told them was the underdog of the week, in my opinion, is Ike Villanueva, or one of them. There's a lot of underdogs this week. 3 out of 4 fights underdogs. Anyways, Ike is a great value because he does have that knockout upside, but he's not going to get finished in there either. He's not going to get a low score, in my opinion, because his recent fights, he got cut open by Jordan Wright. Okay, he's a pretty durable guy, and you can't say the same about someone with Pacquiao, right? Huge price tag. I don't get it.
Yeah, for me, not a first round or bust. That's not what I was trying to say. That's where I messed up my words. But like basically, where I see Ike going for that first round knockout and wanting to get it done in that first round because of how this weight class is. But at the same time, if he makes it to the second or third round, I think he's gonna want to pummel Martin. If that makes sense, he's gonna want to get this fight done as quickly as possibly he can. You know what I mean? Just based on how Ike is. We've seen him in up and downs of the inconsistency that he brings to the table. But at the same time, this should be his fight to win.
And then you go ahead and you have this opportunity now with both James and Ike Villanueva to have an optimal DPP lineup to get all those high range guys in there that we'll talk about later. It's just an insane card. I've been having my eyes on it all week. I've made a ton of lineups, but I'm loving the underdogs.
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of underdogs in this fight card. But going down to Worley Alves versus Jermall Wells. So this is a short notice fight. So looking at this fight, basically what I'm looking at is a guy in Worley who does he belong with the UFC personally? And does he, with the inconsistency that he brings to the table, that's what scares me. But at the same time, we see Wells, which we've seen him on the circuit. He looked good, honestly. He's making the UFC debut. I know he's an older fighter, but at the same time, based on what I've seen, he has decent power, great grappling. The kid is not bad. He has a step up in competition from what he's used to. But we've seen this last week. Look at how fast that fight was. Where's Terrence McKinney? Literally 7 seconds. So I don't count these guys out anymore. It's hard for me to count these short notice guys coming off the PFL, the Bellator. I mean, it's hard to now looking at what the caliber of UFC is here and there that they're giving these debut fighters to. So looking at Wells, I know the odds are against him, but if you want to go contrarian with a guy with Wells, I don't mind it. So, I mean, Worley Alves, what is the first thing you think of Worley Alves? I mean, in the UFC with inconsistent as possibly can be. Literally is what the first thing pops in my mind. I know you haven't done extensive research on this fight, but how do you feel about this fight just based on Worley?
Well, the thing about Alves is we everyone knows how to beat him. You survive the early onslaught, he will gas out, you will win the fight. All right. Was Munir Lazzez able to do that? No. Did I lose some money? Maybe salty, a tiny bit. But the thing is, you have to survive this raging bull in Alves in the first round. And I personally have not done enough tape study to know what kind of fighter Wells is, but I know if I'm able to have a guy who's durable and able to withstand that early onslaught, especially if he's able to wrestle him and drain him out early, that you have an easy path to victory. All right. The under is juice in this fight, even though I don't mind it, but Alves is one of those fighters where he's killer to be killed. He's going out there trying to get his performance bonus, and if he can't get it, he will gas out, right? So exactly. I will stay away from this one because I haven't really done enough research on Wells. But if you're able to see that Wells is good enough to withstand that early pressure, there's another underdog to add to the list.
I think this fight is very capable of being a live betting experience for me, where if, again, Wells can survive that first round onslaught and this card kind of looks like it's coming in favor of Alves, I'm going to jump on that early advantage with that plus money line on Wells and take it to the bank, in my opinion, in the second or third round. so I think Wells is capable. I think he is. I mean, again, we've seen these fighters come time and time again facing inconsistent UFC fighters making their debut. I mean, Wells should be able to handle the onslaught from Alves. I don't like him. I'm maybe, again, I'm biased, but what I've seen out of Worley, it's just way too inconsistent to me. You already know the game plan. He's going to get either first round bust or knockout. That's all he is, in my opinion.
But everything you're saying, you made a great comparison to McKinney, because everything you're saying about Alves is very similar to what we see in Matt Frivola, right? If McKinney can do that, like, it's not like Alves has this stone chin. He's not going to get finished, right?
Not at all.
He pressures early. He's great at doing it, and he's great at putting on the onslaught, like Munir Lazzez felt personally. But it's a case of a new fighter, and I'd love to see Wells succeed. I don't know enough about him to place my money on him.
Exactly. Going up to one of the fights that I'm really loving on this card is Rakhmonov versus Peraz. How do you feel about this fight?
So you have two very, 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 very good prospects here, both on the older end, right? But you see a 13-0 prospect versus someone who has fought some pretty good UFC competition. Now, we have one fighter who was banned. I think I saw a tweet about it earlier that he was doing, what was it, horse steroids? Like, he had some bad things going on in him, man. And I that's one thing where if you see a fighter coming off of like that USADA ban, you don't know what you're going to get from them, right? Because it's going to be a completely different fighter and so on and so forth. But Rakhmonov is a guy who has a great future ahead of him. He's got an amazing, amazing squeeze. He's got some great technical skills as well, and he's warranted that 13-0 perfect record. So I'm like what I see from him. I'm going to personally stay away from maybe play the under in it because I think you got two killers in there. Definitely a step up in my opinion. It is a good fight, is what I'm trying to say, and it's one where I don't know what version of Prazeres I'm going to get. He has done really well in the past. He has proved me wrong, but I will edge with Rakhmonov here.
So there's 3 points that I've written down for this fight. Is number one, 13 years age difference. 13 freaking years between the ages of Rakhmonov versus Peraz. That's the big thing. The number 2 point is the reach advantage. 10 inches for the reach advantage for Rakhmonov. 10 freaking inches. That's literally... I don't see how Rakhmonov loses this fight. Again, this is one of the guys that I'm locking and loading for one of my bet of the nights. I love Rakhmonov here. I don't see how he loses. I mean, it's a 2-year layoff for Peraz's and the steroids. I mean, we don't know what we're getting out of this guy. All the signs are pointing to Rakhmonov, in my opinion. Like I said, I'm going to keep this short and simple. Rakhmonov should easily finish this fight. He's the better fighter here, the better athletic type here. The age difference, the reach advantage, the striking advantage, everything about him, I'm loving out of him. All right, he's a wrecking crew. I love watching him fight. Again, I'm locking and loading him, plain and simple.
The thing is here, the one that's keeping me off it is you have a fighter who has never been finished in Prazeres versus a fighter who has every single one of his finishes, of his wins by finish, right? So could you look at Rakhmonov inside the distance? You could, but it's one of these ones where it's going to be a great fight, and I'm really looking forward to it. Two really good fighters, and I do edge Rakhmonov as a parlay piece. I haven't locked anything in yet, but it is for sure, especially when we're getting all those underdogs, we're able to pay up on DraftKings. He is one guy on DraftKings that I'm absolutely loving.
Because we know he's going to get, we know that he's going to want to get that knockout finish. We already know he's going to want to. He's not going to want to take this to the judges, obviously. So, again, this is one of my favorite fights of the night. We're starting to get into a lot of bangers now. So then going up to Tamir Avila versus Ronnie Barcelos. How do you feel about this fight, man?
Yeah. This is one where exactly. It's one of those fights where I hate and I love the matchmakers at the same time, because I'm getting a great action fight, but you're putting together two top prospects who aren't getting any younger, right? Yeah. You would love to see them fight, like Barcelos fight someone like higher up in the rankings. Valiev, I can't get rid of that picture of him losing that incredible comeback fight. What was it, like a year ago? So when you look at it, you got two great prospects, and I think Barcelos is one of the dark horses of the division, man. He can fight. This guy can scrap. It'll be a great fight. I am going to edge Barcelos, but I'm telling you, man, it's a steep price tag because Valiev is no slouch, man. He's a good fighter. So when you have those two great fighters going head to head, it's scary in terms of you don't know what you're going to get out of the fight. You're going to see a technical bout where it's going to go to the judge's scorecard, or are you going to see a finish early from one of the studs? So you don't know.
I think this is more so a striker versus a grappler, with Barcelos as the striker, obviously. Both these guys, I love watching fight. Again, this is going to be, I hate to watch this fight, yes, but at the same time, and this is going to be a banger to the fight card. But looking at this, like I said, Barcelos, he's a striker. He's worked on the grappling, yes, but he's more so of a striker. I think the scramble game is there. Everything about him, the game is there. But yeah, I really like his talent also, which, yes, he has a couple losses on his fight card, but they weren't horrible losses to the point where I'm like, why did he lose? I don't mind the losses there. But on the flip side, he has the grappling and the wrestling to basically outclass Barcelos. But do I think that Barcelos gets this fight done? I think he has a slight edge with the striking. That's where the edge is going to be. I think this is going to be a bloodbath, and if it goes to the judges, I'm giving the edge to Barcelos with significant strikes in the control time. So, again, this is going to be a banger. This is more about I'm loving to watch this fight. I cannot wait to watch this fight. But I'm more so, like I said, on the side of Barcelos just based on the striking aspect. And if this has to go to the judges, I think they're going to give him the edge.
The thing is, too, you'd think that if you're on Valiev, your logic here is that he's going to out-grapple him. He's going to wrestle him and take away his standing advantage. But you would say the same thing about Sead Nurmagomedov, right? And what did Barcelos do to him? He beat him, right? So it's a fight where I am edging. Like we've seen Valiev get knocked out. It was to someone who was turned to no contest, but he did get knocked out in the story. He did gas out. So and Barcelos is way better than you got knocked out by Jones, right? So it's one of those things where you have to give the edge to Barcelos. I was looking at the under, but you could go either way. So I'm just gonna go. I am gonna go Barcelos, maybe by decision, but that's not something I'm really gonna bet on. I'm just gonna sit back, enjoy.
Going up to the next fight, Jay Herbert versus Moicano. Tell me why I should not lock and load Moicano here.
It's one of those things where you got two complete fighters who both. Okay, all right. I was huge on Fiziev versus Moicano, and it worked out great. He got knocked out. Can Jai Herbert knock out Moicano is the real question.
Yeah.
It's a huge step down for him, in my opinion. I think Herbert's a good fighter, but I don't think he's anywhere near the level of guys Moicano has been fighting in the past, right? I think Moicano's the most expensive fighter on DraftKings, and for good reason. I think this fight finishes, right? So I bet the under. I bet the under in this one, and it's one of those things where you got. I think that on the ground, it's clear who's the winner here, and I think Moicano can even handle himself decently well in the feet as well. But if he's smart, he takes him down, and he's got some killer grappling, right? So I'm going to edge Moicano here, but you never know how someone's chin is after being knocked out by an insane punch of Fizzy. What a combo that was.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, this is a huge drop down for Moicano. I mean, yes, he has losses on his record that are awful, I think, yeah. But look at the competition he was freaking facing. The Korean Zombie. I mean, literally, look what happened with him. Korean Zombie literally just won last week. So, Moicano, look who he's fought and look at the record. I mean, do you blame him for losing some of these fights? These are good fighters. But at the same time, yes, this is a drop down. Moicano is going to want to basically win this fight as fast as he can again and prove to the UFC why he belongs up top. This is a fight for Herbert to basically show why he belongs in the UFC and why he needs to be up in the UFC caliber. So yes, Herbert does have some shiny moments. He's going to want to clip him. He's going to want to clip Moicano and get that 1-2 combo in order to win this fight. I think that's his path to victory is to clip him and basically convert a knockout punch to where Moicano's not going to see it coming. And basically just quickly win this fight from that aspect. But do I think Herbert gets it done? Honestly, no. I think Moicano handles this fight plain and simple. He should, at least. Again, he should. So, but this is UFC, and should is a scary word. So,
yeah, you got two fighters who every time they've lost, not every time, but yeah, majority of their losses have come by way of knockout, right? And if you're Herbert here and you've been knocked out by or finished by Rhys McKee and Francisco Trinaldo, I think that Moicano's levels above, especially on the ground too. You haven't seen Herbert against someone who's excelled so much on the ground as Moicano does. Just ask Amir Hadzovic about it. He got choked out in the first minute, right? I think Moicano has the edge in a lot of places, but it's one of those top types of fights where both guys don't have the best chins. And I'm just, instead of picking a side, I am going to bet the under. But if you were going to bet Moicano, I would recommend betting inside the distance.
That was my last line also, that you were kind of on the same page with me, is literally my notes. I literally put Moicano has the grappling edge, but will Herbert clip him? That's my one thing. He has the grappling edge, but will Herbert clip him and get that 1-2 punch converted? That's what I'm worried about. So am I going to put Moicano on a parlay piece? Again, this is where I'm kind of risky, but at the same time, I think Moicano does get it done here.
Yeah, and I'm thinking if you want to parlay something, there's so many better things to parlay this week, right? You can take Rakhmonov at a similar price tag, right? So why worry about it, really? So you got to look at this from a standpoint of what's most likely to happen. It's probably a Moicano finish, but I'm going to play it safe because I'm a wimp and I want to be safe with my money. Yeah. I'm going to take the under in this and see it works out well for me.
Exactly, my man. Good. So going to the next fight, Nicholas Dalby versus Tim Means. Literally, I have fight of the night written all over this. I love this fight. I love Tim Means, dude. Tim Means is my dude. Talk to me about this fight, my man.
So we're completing the trilogy, or not the trilogy, but the circuit of fights, right? They both fought Rodriguez, and it's coming together. Here we go. And I've been really impressed with Tim Means recently. And that's something that I wouldn't really say because he was on a big decline. He wasn't the guy we saw, right? But Dirty Bird, Tim Means, has really come on, and he's shown himself like the old guy, like the old fighter used to be. He's won some great fights, and I'm really liking him in the spot here. I'm not huge on Dalby. I think he's a good fighter, and I think he's capable of putting on a good show here. But I think he won't be able to beat Means in the way he's been beaten before, right? So if you look at it this way, I know you're really hyped about this. I'm gonna let you take over, but I'm just gonna finish it by saying Means is my play in this one, but it's one of those ones where I am gonna pass on it and let it just enjoy it.
Exactly. Which the reason why I love this fight is because you have two guys where yes, they both have mental errors in their game. It's clear as day that they both do. But Tim Means, I think he's finally combat those mental errors. I think he's finally flipped that edge to where I love him here. I think he takes care of business with Nicholas Dalby. I don't like Dalby. I think he's overrated. Personally, I think he's way too overrated, in my opinion. Yes, he's an explosive fighter, and we see moments of upside, but it's literally, if you look at him, it's just written overrated. I mean, I don't like it. But like I said, Means, we've seen him before. We know who Tim Means is, the Dirty Bird, obviously. He's a hell of a fighter. He's going to bring it to the table against Nicholas Dalby. I love this fight here. Again, I think this has fight of the night written all over for Tim Means. He's going to want to go for that bonus. I'm locking and loading him here, my man.
And if I bet Jesse Ronson versus Dalby. I know that fight's been overturned since, but we've seen Dalby be clipped. I don't necessarily see Tim Means as that finisher that he once was, even though he has shown off some really good performances recently. But it's one of those things where if he has to, it means on the top of his game, he is a much smarter fighter and I think he's even more technically sound too, like, which is funny for me to say. So I think this is his fight to win. I'm gonna just enjoy it though. I'll let you sweat it out.
That's what I'm saying. It's also like with we seen Dalby, he's gonna want to go for the knock. He's gonna want to go for the grappling. He's gonna want to go for the takedowns, but he's not doing it anymore. He's literally not going for the takedowns anymore. For some reason, it's like he crossed off out of his game. Which if he's gonna want to win this fight, it's where he's gonna have to go with Tim Means. But Tim Means is literally just gonna knock him out. In my opinion, this is a great fight. Like I said, for Tim Means, I don't see a reason why he loses this fight. Personally.
Yeah, Tim Means has faced some great grapplers in his past too. It's not like he's going to be tested for the first time, right? So he's got the tools to win, and I want to see what version of Nicholas Dalby we get. So I'm going to stay off of it, but I do edge Tim Means here.
Exactly. Going up to another fight with Andre Fili versus Daniel Pineda. I love this fight also, my man.
Me too. All right, here's the thing. Daniel Pineda has never won a decision. Ever. No. He is a kill or to be killed fighter, and that's what you love to see when you are betting. I had this play locked in, first play of the week. I threw a couple units on the fight does not go to decision, and it was for some reason minus 110. It was even money, and I was so confused because you have Fili who's capable of finishing. I think he has more finish upside than people give him credit for. He's a great fighter. He's had very difficult matchups recently. And yes, Pineda is a firecracker, but he's going to go in there, and if he gasses out, easy win. Just ask Cub Swanson. Cub Swanson put Pineda on his derriere and absolutely sent him out of here, right? Pineda's got a great back tattoo. I'll give him that going for him. But if he doesn't get that first round knockout or first round finish, because he sneaks on the ground as well, he's not the same fighter anymore, right? He's kill or to be killed, and we love that. What about you?
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting fight. I really like this fight. I mean, we've seen Pineda. He's come from Bellator. He's just came from PFL, destroying all those guys in there. We know that Daniel Pineda is a killer. He's gonna basically go in there and want to basically just kill the guys that he's fighting, which I like to see, obviously. So looking at Fili, he's gonna want to try to strike with Pineda, which I don't know if he can hang with Pineda in the striking. That's what I'm worried about. But like you said, I'm loving Pineda here. He's gonna want to go out there and basically just kill Andre Fili. I think this is a great fight again. I love this fight, my man. Plain and simple.
Oh, exactly. And you got someone who's, again, the risk here is that yes, Fili is mainly a decision fighter, right? But look at the guys he's facing, man. If you look, he just fought Bryce Mitchell. He fought Charles Jourdain, Sadiq Youssef. The guys he's facing are absolutely just top of the division. He's got a loss to Calvin Kattar on the record, lost to Yair Rodriguez. But it's not like he's not had it's not like he's fought easy competition and been able to get those knockouts, right? He knocked out Gabriel Benitez. He knocked out Shayman Moraes. And I think that if you're going to knock out anyone, it's going to be Daniel Pineda because he gets finished. That's what he does. He goes out there. He wants his paycheck. If he's not getting performance of the night, he doesn't want it, right? He's going to go out there. He's going to give it his all in the first round, sort of he's going to go out there, give it his all. And if he doesn't get it, then it's Fili's all day. And Fili's a great rangy guy who will be able to do it. And it's not like Pineda's going to Bryce Mitchell him and hold him down the whole time, right? So I'm loving Fili here. I think he's probably the strongest play, in my opinion, on DraftKings just because of that finish upside and there was good volume as well.
Which I know people are going to go on the contrary and say, well, Bryce Mitchell is not that great of a fighter. But with the ground, I'm like, what are you talking about? I've seen this time and time again on Twitter with guys saying, like, well, it's Bryce Mitchell. I'm like, dude, Bryce Mitchell's legit. I know we're kind of going off fact, but I've seen this on Twitter, like, looking at it this morning. I was like, what are people talking about here? Like, they're going to say, well, Andre Fili hasn't fought the best competition. I'm like, look who he's freaking fought.
Exactly.
You're wrong. Like, Bryce Mitchell is no pushover here. Neither is Charles Jourdain. I mean, these guys are literally top of the class. So I really like this fight. I think the striking aspect I'm really scared about. I think Pineda does have a good striking aspect of this fight. I think this is going to come down to the grappling. I think this is where that's going to be the bread and butter of this fight, which it's going to be hard to judge. Again, this is kind of a fight where I want to watch it more so, kind of like you said with the Tim Means and Dolby fight. I really just want to see this fight from a fan's perspective and to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, but right here, you're looking at. I'm looking at Pineda's record, right? So he loses in round 2. All right, then he gets a finish in round 2, finish round 1, finish round 1, finish round 1, finish round 1. He's just finishing all his fights, and he's losing here. He gets finished there, finish in round 1 by Calvaro. And like the thing is, he's not getting any younger too. When he was going to decision, even though he's never won a decision, when he was losing these decisions, he was a younger man than he is today. Like how old is he? He's 35, not getting any younger, and he's killer to be killed. So give me my under. Definitely step down in my opinion for Feely, even though I'm not hating on Pineda, but I think that Bryce Mitchell is finally getting some recognition. I know people are still hating on him, but Charles Jourdain's a solid fighter. The loss to Calvin Kattar, look at that now, right? Unless you're Max Holloway. Yep. So it's one of these things where I think people got to give Feely the credit, and the money line is showing that. But I know I beat some line movement getting that fight doesn't go to decision in right now, and I'm happy with it. I'm going to roll with it.
Exactly. So going up to the next fight with Daniel Marquez versus Kennedy, how do you feel about this fight, man? Yeah. Kind of my similar thoughts.
I'm not a fan of either one of them from a betting perspective. All right. I think Nchikwi showed. No, sorry, not Nchikwi. Oh my God, what am I talking about? I'm just going to call him Kennedy. Kennedy showed a very interesting but pretty smart style is fight against Alberg. All right. That fight, I was hating him at first, but I look at it, I'm like, that was a really smart play. You're gonna just pretty much rope-a-dope him, block his punches, make him tire, and then go for the kill. And I'm like, all right, this guy's pretty smart. I don't think he's a top-level fighter, but I don't think Marquez is either. And that's the thing. You got two different styles. You got a guy who looked to submit and a guy who will look to stay on the feet, right? But you look at the guys that Marquez has finished, and all of them are either have negative record or all their losses are by submission. And it's not like he's finishing these top level guys. And I'm not saying Kennedy is this top level guy, but he's a smart fighter. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to win, right? So I was really looking into it, man. I had plus money on Kennedy and I lost it. So I'm not going to bet it because you never know what happens. You could catch someone. Maybe Marquez is all that on the ground, but I'm definitely going to edge Kennedy here. What about you?
Well, that's what I'm looking at also is in my notes, I have that Marquez, yes, he's a grappler. That's where he's going to go for this fight is the grappling. We've seen it time and time again. But at the flip side, Kennedy, the reach advantage is there. The durability is there for him. The game plan is there for him. Everything is what I'm looking at is going to in his favor. And like I said, Marquez is going to go for the grappling, which I'm taking the edge with Kennedy because of the level of competition Kennedy has fought. That's where I'm looking at because Marquez doesn't want to go in with the game plan of, I'm going to out-grapple him like I've done with all these other fighters. But this is a different Kennedy. I think this is a step-up competition. So that's why I'm giving the edge to Kennedy in all aspects of this. And another underdog I was loving at the very beginning. I mean, like I said, this card is definitely freaking underrated, dude. I love this card time and time again. Looking at all these guys, I think that from the betting market, this has been an interesting week to see how the betting market has flown off the deep end here and there. So, again, my pick for this card is definitely Kennedy. I love him here. I don't see how he loses again.
And the thing is, like, Kennedy's one loss was to Paul Craig, and whereas Marquez likes to be a grappler, he is no Paul Craig, right?
Exactly.
So, and who has he fought? He fought Mike Rodriguez, who he choked him out. Okay, Mike Rodriguez has been finished a lot recently, and he beats Ibragimov, which okay. But you look at his other fights, right? He armbars a guy who's 0-16. Cool. He chokes out a guy who's 5-9. Cool.
Yeah.
Then he loses to a guy who's 6-6. It's not like this guy's a superstar fighting top level competition, and you're going against Kenny Nchikwi, who's he's fought some decent guys, and he's training at Fortis MMA, which is a pretty smart gym. He's going to have a great game plan behind him, and he'll be able to outsmart Danilo, in my opinion. So, and when it opened up with him having plus money, I should have jumped all over. I missed my spot, but instead I will be playing him on some DraftKings.
Exactly, my man. Going up to another interesting fight, the co-main, OSP versus Tanner Boser. Tell me on Tanner Boser.
I'm a Canadian, all right? I'm North. I'm proud of it. I love Tanner Boser, but he's got some decent luck recently, right?
Yeah.
Poor guy, all right? He is a smaller heavyweight, which will bode well for OSP moving up to heavyweight. OSP should not be a heavyweight, in my opinion. It hasn't worked well for him in the past. He should stay at light heavyweight, where he has had some success. Tanner Boser is one of the fastest heavyweights, in my opinion. He's so agile, but he's very in and out. He's in and out on the feet, and we have shown a big weakness in his ground game. Right? So this is a spot where it should be Boser all day, right? He's a bigger man, better striker, and I don't think he's gonna get knocked out. But you get OSP, and OSP smart. You take him down and you keep him down there. Maybe you get a Von Flue if you're lucky, right? So you're taking this on short notice too. I think Boser should win this with the size, with the speed, with the in and out movement and the durability. But I wouldn't count out OSP. What do you think?
So that's what I'm looking at also. I was pulling the tweets where they were saying that OSP does not plan on moving up anymore in this weight class. Like, he's not planning on staying in this weight class, which that mental game was where I'm kind of looking at also. Is I take a lot of mental game in effect in UFC, and that's where I'm like, that's kind of weird to say Friday night before the fight starts. So that's kind of weird, but at the same time, Tanner Boser, we've seen him time and time again where he's had an interesting career, to say the least.
Oh, super interesting.
But very interesting career. I know you're pulling up right now, so
yep.
it's been weird for him. And this is the co-main. Boser's coming off a 2-fight losing streak, 2-week fight streak at the same time, so back to back to back. So Boser, I think, has the upside here. I definitely think he does, and I think OSP at dog odds is also interesting. Again, there's not a lot for me to talk about in this fight. I just think that this is a so interesting fight that I'm letting you take over this one. If OSP can get the submission here, then there we go. But at the same time, this is Tanner Boser. Just talk about this fight, my man. I know you want to.
It's just a clash of styles that it's like, you look at Tanner Boser, and his weakness has been on the ground since the ACA. And was it ACA? Yeah, since the regional scene, he has struggled on the ground, right? You think he'd take the time off and improve from that last loss where he lost because he was on the ground, even though it was a different type of fight. I'm not going to comment on it. And then you have a guy in OSP who's fought everybody. Man, this guy fought John Jones, man. Like, he fought Glover, he fought, like, all these memorable fights, and he's beat some decent guys as well. He beat Corey Anderson with that beautiful head kick I'm seeing all over my feed recently. He has that Von Flue choke, which is his thing. But he's also losing to guys all the time. Like, he lost to Ben Rothwell. He's fighting top level competition is what I'm trying to say. He lost to Latifi. He's been choked out as well. But if we get back to just the fight, just off of just raw, just coming off looking at it straight, you got a guy who's a fast, agile heavyweight versus someone who is a slow, plodding grappler, light heavyweight, or should be light heavyweight, right? So two very different styles. I don't see OSP clipping on the feet, and I don't see Boser really, like, Boser doesn't have that finish mentality unless he's hungry for a win. So you got to edge Boser by decision here. But I honestly, if I see an OSP Von Flue choke, I wouldn't really be surprised because we know how weak Boser is on the ground, but I am going to edge Boser here.
Well, that's what I'm kind of similar to also, is like, if OSP does get the sub here, I would not be one bit surprised at all. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if OSP shows up like he did with Jamal Hill, looking like that, it was not a good sighting for OSP, how he looked in that Jamal Hill fight. It was just like, what are you doing? This is not you. So, again, it's a style clash. It's an interesting fight to me. I love to watch this fight. I want to see OSP finally come back. I want to see him look good in this fight, and I want Boser to finally catch a break. So, again, Boser deserves it. I mean, again, I just want to see this fight from a fan's perspective, personally.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Co-main is an interesting spot for it because there are some bangers on this card, but with the name value of OSP and his patented choke, I just think that a clash of styles that it's just gonna be tough. If Tanner Boser was 30 pounds lighter and fought at 205, it would be much closer odds. But OSP hasn't taken down someone this big in a while.
Exactly. And then going next to now, finally the main event. So, again, the odds on this fight, my man. We said it already in Discord where we were talking about Volkov's odds. The disrespect that this man's getting with the odds, I don't understand it. But start me off with this fight, my man.
Yeah, that you said it perfectly, man. The disrespect, man. If you gave me even odds, I would completely get it because you have like I think Gane's a great prospect. I think he's a very good chance of winning this fight. And but the thing is, you give me plus 150 for a guy in Volkov who is bigger, bigger, fought better opponents, and has immense power that even though he didn't really test it with Rosenstrike, really, so I'm not going to count that one, but that Gane really hasn't seen that much. And it's just weird. Like, why? I'm really struggling to see how this was such a mismatch in underdog value here. So if you look at it from a on paper perspective, you got the undefeated Gane. He's a great prospect. He's good on the ground, very technical boxer as well. He's a great fighter versus Volkov, who's been around for a while. He's really started to find his own recently. He's gotten bigger. He's gotten stronger since that Blades fight. And the way he loses his fight usually is by he can get taken down. He is successfully get hit sometimes, but we've seen a completely different version of him recently. And he's looking lean, he's looking mean, he looked great at the weigh-ins today. And it's one of those spots where if you're going to give me such good plus money value, I'm going to take it because I think he can definitely win this fight. I think he's hungry to be in title contention, but it's just a great matchup. What do you think?
Exactly, my man. I've said it in the very beginning with this fight. As soon as the odds dropped, I was like, how in the world is Volkov the underdog in this fight? Which I know people are going to say, well, it's Cyril Gane. He's undefeated. He's fought good competition. He's a good prospect, highly touted guy. He's ready to go. I mean, but at the same time, it's Volkov, dude. He looks amazing. He's finally fixed his back tattoos. I mean, what else are you going to say about him, my man? I mean, he looks good. He's a monster in there. Yes, I think Gane's going to try to expose him on the ground. We know that's where Volkov's going to try to be exposed. We know. But at the same time, he's kind of worked on it. I think he's looked better on the ground. So, am I going to look at Cyril Gane? It was against Rosenstruck. I mean, yes, it was Rosenstruck. Rosenstruck has not been the same. That's what I'm saying. He has not been the same. He's looked like a different fighter with Rosenstruck. I mean, Rosenstruck, was he literally basically a headliner? Personally, no. Rosenstruck does not deserve to be on the headlines. In my opinion, I guess it was a good fight for Cyril Gane to expose him? Yes. I give it Cyril Gane all the props to him in that fight. He looked way better, lighter on the feet, better hands. Rosenstruck just looked sloppy. But at the same time, Volkov was a way different fighter than Rosenstruck. So don't get my words twisted. I'm taking Volkov here. I love Volkov in this fight. Underdog odds. I took at the very beginning at his odds. As soon as they dropped, I'm going to take it again. I'm probably going to put more money on it. I'm probably going to put 25K like Justin James. Who knows? So I'm loving this main event, my man, for Volkov. I love it, honestly.
The thing is, too, where people say that Gane has fought better competition, if you look at it, Pazzoa and Mays, you can't count them, all right? I think Volkov would destroy both those fighters. Tanner Boser, okay, he's not a top heavyweight, really. And he fights an old Dos Santos, all right? Dos Santos losing to everybody at that point. And then you fight Rosenstrike in a fight where it was a lackluster fight. And props to Gane. You did what you had to do, but it's not like it was. I can't count that as an impressive win because you didn't showcase anything really. Technical, sure, but you didn't showcase that you can get into a war. Like Volkov is not going to be as patient as Rosenstruck was, right? And you look at the guy who's Volkov beaten recently, like he destroyed Overeem. Okay, there you can compare that to the JDS fight because they're both older fighters, but destroyed Walt Harris, he did well against Greg Hardy. And the two losses he has recently to Blades, who just just wrestled him the whole time, I don't think Gane can do the same thing. And Volkov has definitely beefed up since that fight. It will be definitely harder to take him down. And then you have the loss of Derek Lewis, which I'm not going to put too much into that. And you have this 5-rounder who, yes, Gane has gone 5 rounds and his cardio looks okay, but he wasn't getting beat up 5 rounds. I think he had maybe 1 round of actual action in that entire fight. So it's a tough one to call. I think that definitely the odds are just out of whack, which is the main reason I'm on Volkov in this fight. But I'm looking forward to it. I hope it's definitely more eventful than the Rosenstrike fight, and I think Volkov's ready to get it.
Agreed. I'm locking and loading him. So before we wrap up the show, my man, who is your favorite bet of the night? If you had to pick one out of this whole underdog card.
My favorite money line bet will be Ike Villanueva against the Glashan Pragneo. But my favorite bet in the entire card is probably going to be the under in the Jane Rosa fight or the under in the Felipe. I'm going to go with the James fight just because he's so hungry to win. He's killer to be killed, right? So I'm like a lot of unders on this card. It's a very, very violent, heavy card, and I'm loving that. And it's very undervalued. I'm looking forward to it. So what about you?
Exactly, my man. I could be basically where I love the money line on Volkov. I love, again, the money line on Justin James' underdog. There's a lot of underdogs on this fight card that I'm loving. If you want to go with a favorite, I think Rakamanov is my clear-cut favorite fight of the night for him. I think that's the bet of the night easily. I put a bunch of money on him at the very beginning just based on how Rakamanov looked. But there's a lot of pieces on this fight card that I'm just looking at. I'm just continuing to scroll on the betting odds that I'm just loving, continuing to love. So it's Friday. A lot of money's going to come in, obviously, because it's the day before the fight. So definitely, if you want to get your bets in, get them in now because, like I said, these odds will flip pretty fast because, like I said, this is after weigh-ins. This is Friday. So this is time kind of when all the odds kind of flip in there. So honestly, though, my man, this is an underrated banger card that I'm loving and that I cannot wait to talk about. Again, I know me and you will be in the Discord, which that link will be in the description below. So come hang out with us. Don't obviously DM Gordo on Twitter, which I'll add his description link in the description below. So again, DM him, give him a follow. It's been fun breaking down this card, my man. I can't wait to watch it tomorrow. I know we'll be talking about it still after this video. So if y'all have any questions, don't feel free to hit him up, hit me up. So do you have any last closing thoughts, my man, before we head out of here?
No, I appreciate you for having me on. Twitter is definitely where to find me. I do give out a lot of DraftKings lineups the night of. I'm a big DraftKings player. Everyone knows that. I'm playing the NBA and MLB cards every single day as well. So I'm not only a UFC guy, but UFC is my main sport. But no, I appreciate you for having me on. It is a very, very underrated card and a lot of money to be made with these underdogs on DraftKings.
Exactly, my man. I know this won't be the last card that we'll break down together, obviously. So definitely stay tuned for us breaking down more cards. Again, I cannot wait to watch this card. Hit him up, hit me up. We'll be here so to talk about some UFC with us. So again, guys, thank y'all for tuning in. I hope everybody has a good and safe rest of their day.
Yep.